Hello and welcome to this video for biology. We'll be doing chapter 11, section 3. In this video, we're going over the third section in chapter 11. You'll see practice questions on the screen. Those are just for you to follow along with. There'll be nothing for you to actually do. So in the first two sections of this chapter, we learned that there's different versions of a gene, such as a color gene that could code for yellow and a color gene that can code for green. And these are called alleles. Alleles are different versions of a gene. And often one allele is dominant and one is recessive. That means that if an organism has a copy of the dominant gene and a copy of the recessive gene, the dominant one is expressed in the organism and the recessive is not. The genotype of an individual can include the recessive allele, but the phenotype will only show the dominant allele, not the recessive one. So for example, we talked about in the previous sections, the allele for the yellow seeds is dominant over the allele for green seeds. So if a plant's genotype has two alleles for green seeds, then the seeds will be green. It can't be anything else. But if the plant has a green allele and a yellow allele, so remember the lowercase ones are recessive, uppercase capital letters are dominant. So if the plant has a green allele and a yellow allele, the seeds will be completely yellow, no green. So if green is recessive, it's completely covered up by that dominant allele and you never see it. So that's what we talked about in sections 1 and 2, and then in this section we actually learned that sometimes it's more complicated than that. So some alleles of genes have what's called codominance, where neither gene is recessive to the other. They're both dominant genes, and so they're both expressed in the individual. So the phenotype shows both traits. Examples of this that are easy to see are organisms that have multiple colors in the same tissues. So flowers that are striped or spotted, or chickens that are speckled, anything like that. So it's important that we realize it's not a blend of the two. We're not finding a medium between the two colors. Both colors are clearly visible in codominance. And another pattern of inheritance that's alternative to dominant and recessive is incomplete dominance. So in this case, the two alleles blend. The result is somewhere in between the two. So an example is a plant with red flowers classed to a plant with white flowers, resulting in an offspring plant with pink flowers. So incomplete dominance is where you have a blend where you find the medium between two, as opposed to codominance, where both are clearly expressed. Most genes actually have more than two versions of alleles. So when we're talking about dominant and recessive, we're only comparing two. But a lot of times there's different, many different versions of alleles. So some might be completely dominant over others, and some might be co-dominant with others, and some might be completely, incompletely dominant. So an example of this is this herd of horses. There are many different alleles at work creating the variety of coat colors and patterns with different levels of dominance. So some of them have one solid color, some of them have codominance where you're seeing two different colors at the same time on a horse. Some of them probably have incomplete dominance where two colors came together and found a blend between them. Some of these grayish horses might be that. So there's a lot of variety here because instead of two alleles, there's a whole lot of different alleles that are present in different horses here. Then there are also many traits that are affected by more than one gene. These are called polygenic traits, and polygenic traits are more complex because in each individual there are several genes working together to determine the phenotype, and these may all have multiple alleles that affect them. Human hair color, eye color, and skin color are all polygenic traits. These are going to be traits that show a wide range of phenotypes. because there is more than one gene that can be turned on and off or found the dominant and recessive versions of it so that there's more than one gene controlling what is actually expressed. Okay, so review question. So you should see a poll on your screen now asking which is the correct answer. If a mom with very curly hair and a dad with very straight hair may have a child with wavy hair. This is an example of what? Codominance, incomplete dominance, or recessive genes. So everyone should be voting right now. Okay, almost everyone voted, so we're gonna call that done. Um, but it looks like I need to go over this again because a lot of people, the majority of people said codominance. The answer is actually incomplete dominance. So let's go over the difference between those two. And I'm glad that nobody said recessive genes because that's not what's happening here. So incomplete dominance is the correct answer. That's what we get when we have a blend somewhere in between the two extremes. So we have really curly, really straight, and then the result is wavy. Okay, it's somewhere in between. It's not as curly as the mom's, it's not as straight as the dad's, it's in between. So the hair is consistently wavy. So the whole organism, it's somewhere in between moms and dads. So that is incomplete dominance. Codominance, codominance is when both of them are fully expressed on kind of different parts of the same tissues. So for this to be codominance, it would be really weird. You'd have to have um, a child that had like part of her head had really curly hair and part of her head had perfectly straight hair, and that'd be kind of crazy. So let's look at these examples. Remember, incomplete dominance is a blend between the two. So in between red and white, we have pink. It's not as strong of a red, it's not as pale as a white, it's pink. That's incomplete. Codominance is when you see both of them very clearly in the same tissue. So spots, stripes, patterns like that where you're seeing both of them. So this chicken isn't gray, this chicken is white and black. Okay, you see both colors clearly. This flower is bright pink or maybe red and white. It's not like a pale pink that's a blend between the two of them. So it's really bright and really white. You're seeing both of them together. So codominance does not blend the two. It shows both of them in a pattern, as incomplete dominance blends the two and finds a happy medium in between them. So this example here, where you have really curly plus really straight, gives you kind of wavy. That's the blend. That's where it's in between the two, and that's incomplete dominance. Okay, but that's why we do these poll questions, to make sure that I didn't explain something poorly, so hopefully you've got it now. We do have one more review for this section. Traits that are controlled by more than one gene to have a wide range of phenotypes. And the example shown here is height. So people that are really short, people that are really tall, and people that are in between, all different heights. Um, so what type will give you a wide range of phenotypes because it's controlled by more than one gene? So here comes another poll. Take about 30 seconds to answer this one, then we'll move on. Okay, so it looks like a good percentage of people voted, not everybody. I'll give you about 5 more seconds. Oh, awesome. All right, the last ones came in. Cool. Thank you, everyone. All right, so everybody voted. Very cool. And most people got the right answer, so that's great. So 67% of you said polygenic traits, which is correct. So controlled by more than one gene. Poly, that prefix means many, and genic is genes, so many genes. It actually brings us to the end of this chapter. Um, I'm really sorry for those of you that were here and dealt with all the audio issues. I'm sorry about that. You'll get a recording of this session, and then I'm going to re-record it next week. And so if you want another version of it, just send an email.